ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Common Man Show, coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas. And folks, we are brought to you. The Common Man Show, folks, is brought to you by The Scoop in El Paso. That's right, folks. If you go to thescoopinelpaso.com, you're going to want to know the what, when, and where of El Paso. The Scoop in El Paso, it is El Paso's one-stop shop website to help you find out the what, when, and where of El Paso. It is a site that is managed by El Pasoans for El Pasoans, and it links local businesses to savvy customers and events with eager patrons, just like you and I, folks. That's right. If you want to find them, you can find them on thescoopinelpaso.com. You can also find them, folks, on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com, or if you go to Facebook, do a search on The Scoop in El Paso. You'll be able to click the like button, and you'll be able to find out great deals that are going on in El Paso each and every single day. And the thing that I love about The Scoop in El Paso, folks, which is why we're proud to say that we're sponsored by The Scoop in El Paso, is that they give you a morning scoopism, as the way they like to call it. It's either words of motivation or a picture that they found that they are trying to get other people to just say, hey, I can make it a brand new day for me, and that's what I'm going to do. Now, folks, we are back. It is a brand new week, and folks, I've got to tell you something right now. We are trying to come up with something new here for the Common Man Show. Here's what's going on. As you guys have been aware, we have been doing our programs on Wednesdays. We tried a couple times on Tuesdays. We were going to try to do it on Thursdays, as we mentioned on the last program, but due to some of the issues that have been going on, and it's nothing bad. It's no bad issues. Here's what's going on. We're trying to find the right time that we can do this program so that people can spend time with us here, and we can provide a quality program without having to say, I'll do it tomorrow. Mañana está bien. Don't worry about it. We'll figure out. It's like doing a diet. Let's just put it that way. And here's what's going on. We were originally, as you guys were aware, we were originally doing this program on Wednesdays. We were asked to do the Common Man Show on all digital radio, which we were doing on Sundays, to move it over on to Wednesdays, because there was a spot available for us to do the program, and it was going to be something that we were going to be able to capture a little bit more of a prime time national feel. And I had to judge about it. I had to, sleep on it and talk about it with a couple of people, and I said, okay, let's do this. Let's try doing this on Wednesdays, and we will find a time that we can do this program at a place and at a time that's easier for everybody to attend. So we've been trying to figure out which is the best time, who's going to be better, what's going to be good, and everything else. And we were looking at trying to do it on Tuesdays. Well, Tuesdays, during the week, let me be perfectly honest with you folks, there's been some changes in my professional career that have kind of made some programming just a little bit difficult. And the only reason why I say that is because, as I used to do before, I used to do a lot of traveling when I was in El Paso. And I used to travel a lot in New Mexico. Well, we now have an opportunity to travel into different parts of Texas. And one of the things that we have found here, especially in the Texas hotels, is that sometimes you can't link up the programs from Ustream from your computer. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. So we're trying to come up with a better time, and we're going to be doing some traveling back, a little up north, and a little bit further south into South Texas, and a couple of other places. And rather than to tell you guys, hey, sorry guys, we can't do this program on Thursday because I'm over here, instead of being in my inner sanctum sanctorum, as I like to call my place, we wanted to try to find a place and a time that was going to be better for everybody. So we were figuring out, okay, the weekends are pretty good. You got politicians, you got stuff that's going on. We have politicians that can call in and everything else. And this weekend was kind of one of those days where I just needed to just veg and not really do much of anything. It was kind of one of those days where I just needed to sit down and just say, I'm just going to reflect on some stuff, take care of whatever I need to take care of, and then come back and hit things hard and fast so that we can take care of whatever we have to take care of. So that's kind of where things have been sitting at right now. And right now we're like, okay, this is going to be a good time to do the program. And why do I say that? Well, we used to do our program on all digital radio at a similar time to what we're doing right now. And I'm like, well, I've got some free time, and we're probably going to be seeing how this time frame is going to work for everybody. And then from there, we're going to see whether or not we move it during a Saturday time slot, where we say, okay, let's go ahead and capture other people and see if we can get those individuals that will want to call in and be able to be on this program to talk about whatever they're doing, whether it's stuff, whether it's their campaign that they're running, or whatever event that is occurring. So we're trying to make the modifications just a little bit more so that people have a better time that's accustomed for everybody to enjoy. But this program, like I said, is going to be going on to our usual sites. You'll be able to find this program on YouTube. You'll also be able to find this program on other audio sites, such as SoundCloud. You'll be able to find us on iTunes if you have an iPhone or your app, let's put it this way: if you have your app on your iPhone, or if you have iTunes set up on your computer, you'll be able to download the program anywhere you want to as soon as we get the audio uploaded onto our main server. And then also you can find us on Stitcher Radio. And the thing I like to say about Stitcher Radio, folks, if you go to Stitcher.com, you're going to find thousands and thousands of different programs that you're going to be able to listen to each and every single week and each and every single day. And out of all those programs, folks, the Common Man Show is one of them. We're one of those programs that's in there. And you can find us. You can click onto us as one of your favorites. And you'll have a great time. And you'll be able to listen to this program at any other time of your convenience. So if you want to listen to it on your phone, like I do this on occasion on my phone, I'll also do it at work whenever I want to listen to something different. And you'll be able to carry this program around with you anywhere you want to. One of the great things that we've enjoyed about having this program and doing this on Stitcher Radio and on iTunes is that you can carry this program on your phone, and you're able to plug in your phone into your car and be able to say, okay, well, let me listen to this program or whichever other program you want to listen to at the time. So we're very excited about being on these sites so that we can give you guys a broader spectrum of where you can listen to this program. Now, folks, you can also find us on Facebook. If you go to Facebook.com and type in The Common Man Show, or go to Facebook.com/The Common Man Show, you'll be able to find us there and be able to like the page and comment on what we're doing. You can send us a message saying, hey, I like the page, I don't like the page, I don't think you're doing some, we need to do some other stuff in there, or whatever the case may be. We will always accept and consider any comments that go on there, whether positive or negative. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Go to twitter.com/Gabriel Nila, which is your host here, and you'll be able to follow us here and be able to listen to or read some of the tweets that we have. And we've had some spirited conversations, and we like to thank certain individuals for the stuff that they do, especially politicians and all that fun stuff. And of course, folks, I do want to say this again. I do want to thank our sponsor. We have to say thanks, and I have to say thanks, a personal thanks, to the guys, and I'm going to go ahead and show the picture again, folks. I want to say thanks to the Scoop in El Paso. Like I said before, they've been a great group of folks over there on the scoopinelpaso.com, where they have been working with us day in and day out on all the stuff that we've been doing. And you got to take a look at them. You got to see what's going on. They've got some great people behind them, and they're doing, how do you say, they've been doing great work in El Paso so many times. I mean, you can say that for an extensive amount of time. Let me just put it to you that way. You can say that for an extensive amount of time. But we're very glad to be a part of the Scoop in El Paso. And we're going to continue to say we're proud to be a part of them. Now, folks, let's continue on. Now that I've done all that fun stuff, let's go ahead and do what we're here for. And we want to talk politics. We want to talk about stuff that's been going on during the week. And there's been some significant stuff that's been occurring, not only in El Paso, but also in Central Texas, that may have some effects going on in El Paso. Obviously, in El Paso, we've been going back and forth with this whole corruption scandal that's going on with the school district. And of course, I've been a big proponent on having a little bit more clarity of what's happening. I don't like the board members that are on there. I'm not a big fan of David Dodge, and I've said that time and time again. I don't like the man. But I'm not particularly fond of all the other members that are there, especially with what went on with Lorenzo Garcia. And now we have the Texas Education, we have the TEA, who has smacked the school district with all the stuff that they've done. And now we have a moderator that is going to be going in this coming week to monitor what they've been doing. Obviously, the state has said, hey, we think you guys suck. We think you guys have done a lot of stuff that is detrimental to the school. And we want to make sure that you're not doing anything stupid again. Why are we saying this? Because we believe that you're just a bunch of knuckleheads. So they're going to be in there. They're going to be doing at least monthly reports, I believe, to say, hey, by the way, this is what they're doing. This is what they're not doing. And I bring this up because there's been some interesting stuff that's going on over here in Central Texas. One of the items that has been occurring is there's been talk in one of the school districts in this area about segregating the boys and the girls and the middle school level. One of the things that they've identified is that there's a couple of schools in one particular region that has not been doing very well when it comes to their educating the children. So they've said, okay, what can we do? We've spent thousands of dollars on this whole thing. We've spent countless time and we're still not getting the effects. So we want to say, okay, let's try this. And it's being done in other places. I think Georgia's one state that's doing it. I think Indiana, Colorado, I think is another one. But they're talking about separating the middle schoolers. So people like in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They want to separate the boys and the girls into two different schools so that the boys attend one class or one school and the girls attend another one. They're kind of like doing the private school where you have an all girl school, and you also have the all boys school. For those that are familiar in El Paso, you have I want to say Loretto Academy, I want to say Father Yermo's, but I could be wrong on that one. I remember Father Yermo's used to be that way, and also Cathedral High School. And a lot of the students obviously are saying, oh my God, we can't be doing this. This is going to be so wrong. It's going to hurt us. Well, we don't care what you think, kids. You guys are screwing up. So we have to go ahead and make a decision and say, okay, what's best for the well-being of the children? Some parents are a little bit upset about it, but here's the thing that I've got to argue back. If the school was doing so well, then you have a legitimate reason to argue. You have a legitimate reason to say, hey, by the way, we think we're doing wrong, or we think you're doing wrong by this choice because we're doing so great over here, and obviously we're not. Because in Texas, what is our based on the No Child Left Behind standards, we're not doing so hot. I think half of the students or about half are passing the tax test or the New Star test. And so we've come to the point now where we have to say, look, a decision has to be made as to what we're going to do to make sure that we are taking care of our children and taking care of our future, because obviously something has not been done right. And one of the things that I heard a libertarian tell me just recently was that, you know, if they're, and we were talking about jails, and he was kind of mocking the whole system where we're like, oh, well, you know, we spend millions of dollars on jails and we get no effect. So what do? We pour more money into it. We're going to put more money into the whole thing. And he made that as a reference to what we're doing with the schools. And obviously, we're throwing money in there left and right. We're spending probably $12,000, $15,000 per student. We're supposed to be spending $8 más o menos per student per year, and we're spending significantly more. And I think it goes up to some students based on the at-risk status of at least $50,000 per student per year. And we're still not getting the positive effects. And what are people telling us? Hey, throw more money in it. Let's go ahead and throw more money into the fire and let's go and put a stop to the fire. So it might be an interesting concept where we say, okay, let's go ahead and try this out and see what happens. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, okay, at least we can say, yeah, we tried, because obviously the previous process that we were doing wasn't all that great. Now, there's another interesting concept that I want to be able to bring up tonight or on this program, because it's concerning something else that's going on over here in Central Texas, and it's involving a charter school that's called the Harmony Public Schools. And it's a charter school system, and this is and it's 38 classes or 38 campuses throughout Texas. And this is coming from the Statesman's website. If you go to statesman.com or to the Austin Statesman, you'll be able to see this article. And essentially, what they're doing is that they've been able to spend less than $8,000 a year on, or $8,000 per student per year, on being able to get students to do better. And essentially what they're doing is that they're trying to maximize the output based on the dollars that they have. It's kind of like what we do in business. If you have, and this is something that we learned during this whole recession, sometimes you have to make a rock bleed just a little bit more in order to get the end results that you need. And this is something that I tell people. I go, sometimes, you got to make the rock bleed. And if you can make the rock bleed, then you're doing something good, because it meant that they weren't giving your all. And what they're doing is that they've been able to find that this school district or these public schools have been able to be a little bit more successful and have the positive results that the public schools couldn't do. Now, one of the arguments that the public school is saying right now, or from the Teachers Association, and it's by a lady by the name of Lindy Gustafson. The problem that they're saying is that they're saying, well, you need to add more money to it. Roundabout way is what she's saying. Okay, their argument is that they're spending less money, and you can't ask these individuals to take a pay cut and do the exact same amount of work, because it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to create the same results from these teachers. And she's got a point. But one of the things that they've done, and I've got to say this, I've got to point this part out. One of the things that they've done is that they've actually not necessarily hired a lot of teachers from the school districts. One of the big items that they did is that they actually got teachers from a foreign country to come over here and teach. And I'm assuming that they were transplants for one reason or another to come to Tech, and they were coming to the United States, and they said, okay, great, come over here. We're not going to pay you the same amount of money that we're going to pay a teacher at a school district, but you're not going to have to deal with the unions. You're not going to have to deal with a couple of other things and all that fun stuff. And the reason why I say this is because I know certain educators in the charter school system, in some of the areas in Texas that aren't part of a union, and they do phenomenal work. And you got to keep in mind that charter schools are a little bit different in regards to the public schools. One of the things that's very important about charter schools is this: they take those students that the public schools don't want anymore, and they give them an opportunity to finish up the stuff, or they say, okay, fine, you don't want your help. Barbara Billingsley said this perfectly on Airplane. Blood don't want no aid, blood don't get no aid. And they say, okay, great, you want to come over here? Great, learn. If you don't, great, get out of here. We're done. And they make it very strict on them to ensure that they're going to be doing the best that they can, that these students are doing the best that they can to get that paper saying that they've graduated, so that they can move on to the next phase in life and either obtain a job which requires, or some places require a degree or a high school diploma, or they can move on to the next phase and go to school or obtain some other type of secondary degree. And the thing that they've done is that they have actually, the main point of this part is that they're saying, okay, great, let's go ahead and see what we can do to try to make this more effective. And the thing that they've found with this Harmony Public Schools is that they've been able to do the work with less money. Obviously, we said that they have an impact by bringing in teachers who aren't from here, who are capable, who have met the standards based on the state, and have been able to produce whatever needs to be produced. It's kind of like some medical facilities that hire foreign nurses. And one of the comments that I used to love hearing in New Mexico was one of the state hospitals where one of the CEOs said, hey, I can bring in a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of nurses from the Philippines. They're not going to sign up with any union, and they're going to be sitting there, and they're going to be working. They're going to be, doing whatever stuff. They're going to put their heads down, and they're going to be working. And when they see me, they're going to look up and say, hey, Mr. Fulano, ¿qué tal? And then go back to work. He's like, you go to a person that's been accustomed to being in the union for so long, and they don't care. They kind of have a different attitude. They have a laissez-faire attitude, is the way it was kind of explained to me. And you don't get the same amount of output because why? They are part of a union and they get whatever. So they're learning some lessons. The school districts here in this part or from Texas are starting to learn a little bit about what's going on with the effectiveness. Here's what they're learning. Okay, you can still make the same amount of work. You can still get the same amount of work at a little bit less and still be able to get the end results that you need and not pay so much. Now, the Teachers Association's argument is saying, we're not going to take a pay cut, and if you want quality, you have to pay a little bit more. And they're right to a certain degree. Here's the problem that comes up. If you're going to be paying them a little bit more, the union's going to say, okay, great, give me a little bit more. And I'm saying this because of personal experience, folks. I'm saying this because I used to be in a union years and years and years ago when I was much younger in my life. And in talking to other people in unions, they say, great, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this. And I think I've said this story before on one of these programs where I was going to actually sign up on another person's union card to join as an apprentice in whatever career field it was going to be. And they said, yeah, we got some great jobs. I'll tell you, the story is this. They tell me, we got some great jobs out of town, and it pays really well. And I said, great, how much is it going to pay? And they tell me the amount, and I said, okay, great, what are the union fees? And I would lose a third of my check, literally a third of my check to the union. I don't like doing that. I don't like having to give my money to a group that's going to try to say, hey, we want to help you get a job, and then when the job's done, you have to pay them again to help you try to find another job. I want my longevity. I want to be able to work at a job where I can say, okay, as I've said before, pay me for what I do, pay me for what I can do, and pay me for what I know. And based on the merits, I can do whatever great stuff you want me to do. And if you think I'm worth a little bit more, then pay me a little bit more. Let's go ahead and sit down at the table and let's see what's amicable. And so it may come to a point where we're going to probably have to come to a head here in Texas. Now, obviously, we've had some issues in Wisconsin where we had some issues on collective bargaining. And this is something that there is some issues with the unions here in regards to being able to get some of those decisions. And so we have to decide at this point, do we want to go ahead and let them have a little bit more play on that end? Obviously, a lot of people don't want to fight with the unions, but it may come to the point where that has to be done. And basically the story is saying this, folks. They're doing great, and they're doing it on a shoestring budget. However, the Teachers Association doesn't want to do that because they think that those teachers are worth more, even though we're not getting the same results. Now, before you guys think that I'm bashing all teachers, no, there's some phenomenal teachers out there that are doing great work, especially in the public school systems. However, there are some that aren't doing so great, but because of the Teachers Association or because of the unions, they're protected, and they are doing whatever they can to go ahead and keep them there. Which is a nice kind of a segue, folks, to an interesting scandal that went on in Dallas, and I want to say it's in Houston actually. By a lady by the name of Brittany Collips, who was a high school teacher, and she just got she was found guilty of doing a couple of inappropriate things with some teenagers. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well, that's kind of bad. Here's the premise. She was videotaped having sex with at least one guy with image, and in this video, there's at least 5 guys in this video. There's probably some girls in the mix, I'm not sure. But they played this video of her having sex with at least one 18-year-old who was a high school student. And she was found guilty of whatever she was doing, having sex with a student. And she's getting 5 years in prison. She had an opportunity to spend 20 years, and the jury that found her guilty is telling her, okay, you're going to spend 5 years in prison. Now, I bring this up as a segue, just because it was a nice way to go ahead and bring this into a change from the school discussion. Because I've been listening to a lot of sports radio stations this weekend as part of my relaxation time. And I've been listening to some of the news that's out there. And of course, on sports stations, on the radio, you have a little bit more leeway to make your personal opinions said without having to face any type of repercussions. And one of the things that's been said is like, oh my God, she's in trouble. I can't believe she's getting in trouble for sleeping with 18-year-olds. Oh my God, they're adults. They can go to war and they can't have sex with a teacher. These are some of the comments that were being said on the radio. Now, here's the problem that comes up with the whole thing. These 18-year-olds were still in school, as I mentioned before. They're high school students. They were still in high school, which kind of puts them still under the influence of the teachers. Now, had these students or these 18-year-olds been out of school and graduated, it'd be a lot different. However, they were still in school, and one of the rules that they have here is the relationship factor of the student-teacher relationships, where they say, okay, yeah, you're 18, however, you have to be out of the school because there's still some impact being done there. It's kind of like the situation with the young lady in California who was, as soon as she turned 18, she ended up going to live with her one of her science teachers, with her science teacher, and he left his family just to be with this girl. And of course, he ended up going to jail for a few other reasons that weren't related to this whole thing. He was fired from his job. And last we heard is that she went back. She left, but then she went back to be with this guy because it wasn't illegal over there. They're working on trying to change that, but here you can't. You have to make sure that if you're going to be in a relationship with a student, that you have to do it when that student is out of school completely. Which kind of begs the question, why only 5 years? Why couldn't they give her more? And I say this because there's been other cases where there's been inappropriate relationships. I think there was a teacher who was 26 in Pflugerville that ended up having a sexual relationship with a 13 or 14-year-old, and she was married and is probably going to be facing a lot of prison time. We had another one that was sending a guy who, here in Austin, I believe, had sent some inappropriate text messages to a girl, and he's going to be facing quite a bit of time in jail. And I guess the question would come up as saying, why the double standard? Why are we going to say it's okay for a girl to do this and a guy to go ahead and if a guy does this, he gets his ass thrown in jail forever? And keep in mind, when and I'll be perfectly blunt on this part, we always wanted to have that relationship. Guys, when I was growing up, we always wanted to have that teacher. We always wanted to have that teacher that we can say, yeah, she was fun. But when it came down to the other side, that was kind of downright creepy. And I actually talked to a former classmate of mine when we were in high school, and I really didn't pay much attention. I was just like, whatever. Who was actually in a relationship with a teacher. But he also slept around with quite a bit of different girls that were part of this, class that he was teaching. At least, let me put it this way. At least I found out later on that he was sleeping with some of them. This girl was just in love with him because he was just so different than all the other guys that she has been with, and that's fine and dandy. But here's the kicker. It goes back to the whole thing where you're like, if it's a guy, we're the guys are treated like crap, and they're spending however many years in jail. The girl that does it, they're like, okay, whatever. They had one in Dallas. If I remember correctly, they had one in Dallas just recently where she was convicted. They gave her probation. They said, okay, fine, slap on the wrist, and you're done. The guys are going to be serving time, and this girl isn't. And now, it might be on this case with this teacher, it might be the mitigating factor in this whole thing is the fact that her and her husband, who's in the military, are swingers. And that's kind of the lifestyle that they prefer, where they are able to sleep with multiple partners instead of being monogamous. Fine, whatever you want to do. Whatever floats your boat is fine and dandy with everybody else. But does it still make it appropriate? Especially when you're dealing with high school students. Even though they're 18, they're still high school students. Does it make it appropriate? Probably not. And in a time that we are trying to be politically correct and being able to say, okay, great, let's go ahead and be equal to everybody, this sure isn't. I can tell you that right now. This sure isn't showing that it's equal. Like I said, when I was younger, we were looking for that. But now the times have changed. We can't expect that to occur. And we can't say, oh, by the way, he was just trying to dip his pen into some inkwell. If we're going to be doing this as same from one group to another, then it's got to be same with everybody else. And if you're going to be punishing the guys, then you got to be punishing the girls and what they're doing. And it just astounds me where people are just saying, oh my God, they're high school students, they're 18, it's okay. No, it's not. It's not. If you're going to be fair and equal to everybody, it's not. And it doesn't work out that way. Just all that fun stuff, folks. Now, let's continue on with our conversation with something else. I brought that up because it was just bugging the hell out of me this weekend. I've been hearing about it for the past couple of days, and it's just like, come on. You're going to say it's all right when we've got to be nice and fair to everybody, and this isn't nice and fair to everybody. Now, folks, this other fun story that we got before we get to the ending of the program and the awarding of the Chata Award to those fantastic winners. And this is going to be one of those winners, folks. 2010. We have a young lady by the name of Janelle Carrillo, who lives here in Texas, who apparently went to the Cowboy Stadium, and during some hot weather, I guess it was 101 degrees outside, she decided to go sit on one of the benches at the Cowboy Stadium and apparently burned her bum. And she ended up suffering third-degree burns on her hiney. And now she's suing the Dallas Cowboys and everybody else in relation to the Cowboys because she burned her ass. And she's telling everybody, if the Cowboys had just said, hey, by the way, these seats are hot. And I think they were chrome plated. It looks like they were metal benches. Let me go ahead and give you the description of the bench. They were black marble benches. Okay. They were black marble benches that she was sitting on, 101 degrees or 100 plus degrees, and she's sitting on there for a while and burns her bum. And now she's saying that if only the Cowboys and the stadium owners had just said, I just posted a sign somewhere saying, caution, these chairs may be hot during the hot summer days. Please be careful. Then I wouldn't have this predicament. Well, let me tell you something. How many of you people, and raise your hand, because I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now for you guys. How many of you remember those metal monkey bars? How many of you remember the metal slides? How many of you remember the seesaws that were all made of metal? growing up that were outside in your at the either at the parks or at school. I can give you my stories on those, folks. Clardy Elementary. I lived 5 minutes walking distance from it. And on occasion, we go out there, and we would play on the swings. We play on the seesaw. I actually got to play on the seesaw every once in a while. Of course, no one was my size, so it made it a little bit difficult to play with the seesaw with kids my age. So I always had to play with my brothers who were 5 years plus older than me. And when it got hot, it got hot. And what do? We never got on it. I remember those summer times when we went out to go to the summer, to the events or to the after summer activities that they had at Clardy Elementary, where you play whatever games. They had whatever checker or board games you had. Either you're playing checkers, or whatever the case may be. They had foosball tables outside, and it was always in the shade. But you had the metal benches outside, and you had those metal slides that if you're playing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, those suckers were hot. And it took one time to touch those metal slides, one time to touch those teeter-totters, and one time to touch those swings where you say, hey, it's hot, I'm not going to get on there. I'm not going to burn my hand. I'm not going to burn myself because it's hot. And you got this woman over here saying, oh my God, if you had just put in those signs, or if you had put in heat-reducing paint, then I wouldn't have the situation. I wouldn't have to have the need to sue you because you screwed up my bum. And because I didn't get off there I didn't get off in sufficient time, I now have these third-degree burns on me. I just don't think that's right, folks. I just don't think that's right. And I heard a person say this. Well, if they just put light color paint on it, things would have been a lot different. It's marble. Come on. You're gonna put paint on marble? It doesn't work out that way. Look, if it's hot, you don't touch it. If it's cold, and if you like the cold, then enjoy it. But it's hot, okay? I know not to sit on a park bench. We had this discussion just recently where people are outside waiting for the buses here in Austin, and they have some places where you have like shaded area where you can stand in there, or you have these nice little metal benches that you can sit down and wait for the damn bus. And a lot of people waited underneath the covered areas because they didn't want to sit on the park bench or sit on the benches while they're waiting for the bus because it's hot. My God, and she's going to want money off of this whole thing. Chances are that the Cowboys are going to say, okay, fine, here's $20,000, shut the hell up and go away. Is that going to be the amount? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the amount. But to this nice young lady, Janelle Carrillo from Claiborne, Texas, let us award you with the first Chata Award for the week because you suck. How can you put it nicely? I don't know how nice to put it. You suck. If you think that you're right to do this, you're a knucklehead. How in the world do you think that's going to be appropriate? Because no signs were out there and I didn't have the common sense to realize that it was hot. My God. You're a knucklehead. You suck. You're the reason why lawsuits are so expensive. You're the reason why people want to have tort reform. And I thank you for that. I thank you for doing that because you're the exact knucklehead that we need to go ahead and say sometimes there's some lawsuits that just shouldn't happen. But we would like to present you with this week's Chata Award because we like to tell people there's just some people that say something or do something that you just want to go up to them and say, I'm sorry, but will you please just shut the F up? Now, folks, we want to go ahead and give another award. We want to give another award today. And this is something that we posted on Facebook on the Common Man Show fan page. If you go to facebook.com/The Common Man Show or type in The Common Man Show, you'll be able to find this one here. You'll be able to see the fine logo that we have that we do at every beginning of the show. And you'll be able to click the like button and follow with what we're doing here. I like to, as I mentioned before, this is a conservative program where we talk about conservative talk from the common man perspective. And I've said this time and time again, we have to be critical on both sides of the fence. And I try to become overly critical on my side of the fence, on the GOP, on the conservative side or the Republican side, because in this election cycle is going to be a very telling year of who is going to win and who's not going to win. And one of the things that Democrats do really well is that if we screw up, they will carry that whole screw up to the bitter end. And so one of the things that I've argued is that we, as Republicans, cannot give that ammunition to the opposing parties so that they can use that against us. And today we had the perfect example of those idiotic remarks and those idiotic comments that will screw us over in the end come November. And I'm talking about a Missouri Republican candidate by the name of Todd Aiken. And apparently he was on this program called the Jaco Report today on the 19th. And they're talking about his decisions on pro-life, on being pro-life or pro-choice in regards to abortions. And this is the part that kind of gets me. He made a comment about women who are raped and that get pregnant. And I have to rub my head sometimes because this is just an idiot. What he said was just so idiotic, and I'm just going to paraphrase it. You have to look it up, and it just burns the hell out of me. He apparently was using a reference to a 1996 article about women who are raped, or women that are experiencing enforceable sex, I guess, if you will. And his statement that he said was this, is that if you're going to be intentional rape, if you're raped, the body has mechanisms in place that can prevent pregnancies. And if it was an intentional rape, the body will fight the pregnancy. So essentially what he was saying is this, is that if the rape wasn't intentional, and you get pregnant, you should have the kid. And it burns my ass. I hate to say this. It just pisses me off that we have individuals that think this way. Okay? It doesn't happen that way, folks. It doesn't happen that way. If you're raped, you're raped. And if you're going to have this traumatic experience to you, chances are is that there's and if you have the misfortune of having semen put in you, as being a woman, there's an opportunity for that to occur where you can get pregnant. And if he thinks that this is intentional, he's out of his mind. He's out of his flipping mind. And people were just coming back after him. And here's the problem that I have on this whole thing, is that there's an argument on there saying, well, he misspoke. And that doesn't happen. Okay, you cannot misspeak about sensitive issues like this. You cannot say, oh, well, she wanted it to happen. No, she didn't want, women don't want to get raped. And I'll put it to you that way. Women do not want to get raped. If it's a role-playing thing, that might be different. But there is no such thing as, well, she wanted to get pregnant, so she wanted to get raped. Or if it was an intentional rape. So she intended to have this, to get inseminated, and she intended to be impregnated by this assailant. It doesn't work that way. At least not in my eyes. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that don't believe that. And now he's trying to backtrack on the whole thing. Well, guess what? You're an idiot. You're an idiot for saying that, for even thinking that. It's like, how dare you? How dare you even think that? And this is coming from a Republican, from a registered Republican here in Texas. You don't say that stuff. You're not even supposed to be thinking of that stuff. Because it's wrong. It's illegal. The act is illegal. Oh, God. Just watch the video. Just watch the video. The guy's an idiot. Okay, I'm going to say this right now. Todd Aiken is an idiot. Okay? And he sets back. I'll say this right now. I'll say this right here. That man sets the whole Republican movement back 100 years. And this is coming from me. Okay? This is coming from me. It's not coming from a Democrat. This is coming from me. Comments like that set us back. And remember, we said this, we blasted Rick Santorum for almost saying the N-word. And he set us back. And he was trying to set us back in this whole thing. Todd Akin is just a freaking knucklehead. He's an idiot. And he is just he's giving the Democrats great ammunition to say, hey, by the way, Republicans think that it's intentional. Republicans over there think it's okay. And if they think about that in Missouri, then chances are it's going to happen over here in Texas. So guess what? You got to vote Democrat. So to the illustrious representative to be that wants to get your vote in Missouri, Todd Akin, we'd like to present you with this week's second award for the Chata Award. And we'd like to thank you because you are just screwing up. You're the reason why we get so blasted on the Republican side. Okay? It's people like you that screw up the whole thing. So, congratulations. You're the second winner of the Chata Award for this week. Please accept our award with grace and honesty. And just learn to shut the F up. My God. Now, I do want to end on a positive note. Here, folks. This is going to be a happy show. It's going to be a happy program for all of us. In San Bernardino, California, folks, this is not an award. Just to let you know. But because these guys just pissed me off, man, because this guy just pissed me off when he said that, I have to end on a happy note, on a better note. There was an 8th grader who's part of a group of excelled students. Let me just put it this way. You know, you have your regular students and you have your advanced students, and she's part of that advanced group who has, she's taking these classes in one of the schools. And I'm trying to find the school that she's in. But anyway, it's Golden Valley Middle School. But it's the program that she's in, it's called the AVID program, AVID, for excelled students. It's kind of like the gifted program or the advanced placement program in middle school. And apparently she got in trouble. She got in trouble, folks. I'm sorry, this whole Todd Akin thing just bugged the hell out of me. But anyway, this young girl, her name is Brianna Gentry, 13 years old. 13 years old. She's in this advanced placement class, and she had some pictures in her notebook. You know, kind of like, you know, like people have just, you know, some kids have Justin Bieber, they have Metallica. You know, when I was growing up, we had people that, you know, had Metallica poster stickers on their stuff, and I kind of drew funky pictures. You know, the best drawing I could ever do was a stick figure of me, and I was wrong because, you know, I was overweight and chunky at the side, and all I can do is just do a stick. Didn't work out. Anyway, she had a couple pictures. She had one picture of herself, and I guess she does extracurricular activities. I think she's in softball. And she had a picture of her brother, who's in the military. And she carries those pictures in her notebook because those are kind of her motivational tools, kind of like the Scoopisms that they do on the Scoop in El Paso. And she almost got in trouble for this. She almost got expelled because she had these images on there, and of course, her parents, her mom, to their credit, fought this whole thing. Bottom line on this story is that she was almost in violation of, or apparent violation on this AVID program, where they couldn't have pictures on their notebooks. And the parents or the mom fought, saying, "Hey, by the way, you know, you guys are idiots because the whole school doesn't have it. You know, the whole school doesn't have this particular rule. You got other students that aren't in the advanced program that are allowed to have these pictures." And her brother's in the military, and her brother is a motivating factor for her to do what she does best, and that is an excel at school, and be able to do so well. Okay. So they compromised, and they said, "Okay, fine. The school said, okay, we hear you. We understand where you're coming from. And they said, okay, take off the pictures from the school. Take off the pictures from your softball. Can't have that. I guess it's the little league that she's in. But you can keep the picture of your brother. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's good compromise. I understand where they're coming from. They're trying to say that these kids are separate. These kids are a little bit better than the other kids. And because they're a little bit better, they have to follow a certain set of guidelines that's a little bit different than everybody else. And I'm glad that they made that compromise. And here's why. To take away a person's motivation to do better and to do well can be detrimental to a person's life. I'll give you a good example. I've got my daughter who found some pictures of me when I was younger. For some reason, my mom kept my UTEP ID from 1990. And she kept that. And I'm like, okay, don't know why you kept it, but okay, great. My daughter took that and she put it away. And she stored that. She still has that ID of me when I was younger. She found some pictures of me when she was born. And I got, I was holding on to her and I got this picture of me when she wasn't even halfway, she wasn't even long enough to fit in my arm. And so I had to, make sure I was cuddling her, right, and not drop her. And she has those young pictures of me. And she took out those pictures. She got those pictures, she cut out the images, and she put me on her notebook and on various notebooks out there. And she does this as a way to motivate herself to do well. It's kind of like saying, hey, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you, Dad. And it's touching. Let me put it to you this way, folks. It's touching that she does that. And we have Brianna over here who's doing this for her brother. And she's doing well because of her brother, as a way to show her brother that she has that extra oomph to do well because he is over here serving in the military and serving in a foreign country to protect her and to protect us. And I'm glad. I'm proud that the school district and the school made this compromise and be able to let the girl have her motivation and be able to do well and be able to show every day that she's proud of her brother and that every day she's doing all the good things that she can right now because of her brother. So we want to thank the Golden Valley Middle School and Brianna Gentry and her family, not only for all the good stuff that they're doing now, but because of the fact that they were able to reach a compromise and allow Brianna to do well. Folks, we're going to go and wrap things up. We are getting close to the end of the programming time, and we're very glad and very honored to have you guys here with us here on this week's program of the Common Man Show. Folks, you're going to be able to find us on a lot of different places. You're going to be able to find us not only here on Ustream, but you'll be able to find us on Facebook. You'll be able to find us, you'll be able to watch this video again at any other time on your smartphone. I get to watch this every once in a while. I like to do this, folks. I like to get my phone and go onto YouTube and say, I'm here. Did you get a chance to watch a program? Well, no, here, take a look. Here's a sample of what we did. And I like, just because I like to tell people I'm doing this. But folks, you can find us on YouTube. You're going to be able to find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes. And on Facebook, folks. So you'll be able to find us there. Go to facebook.com/The Common Man Show to find anything and everything that we're doing there. And folks, we have to thank our sponsor. We have to thank the Scoop in El Paso. That's right, folks. If you go to the scoopinelpaso.com, you're going to be able to know the what, when, and where of what's going on in El Paso. As I tell everybody, the Scoop in El Paso is El Paso's one-stop website to help you find out the what, when, and where of El Paso. The site is managed by El Pasoans for El Pasoans. And folks, it connects those businesses that are affiliated or that are associated with the Scoop in El Paso to savvy customers like you and I. Folks, we're going to get on out of here. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here and take care of all the fun stuff that we have to do, because we have got a lot of other stuff that's going to be going on behind the scenes that we just can't talk about just yet. And when we do, you're going to be so amazed. Folks, this is the Common Man Show, coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas. Thank you again for being here with us. And folks, we will see you guys very soon. Stay tuned to Twitter at Gabriel Nila and at The Common Man Show on Facebook to find out when our next regularly scheduled program is going to be. We're looking somewhere between Saturday and Sunday, folks, and we're hoping it's going to be in the afternoons. But stay tuned as we make the announcement very, very soon to find out when we're going to be doing the next episode on Ustream of The Common Man Show. Because I say that because we're still going on Wednesdays, folks. We're on Wednesdays on all digital radio. But when you find out the live webcast of The Common Man Show, stay tuned. You're going to love it, folks. Folks, this is Gabriel Nila, your host for The Common Man Show. Thank you again for being here with us. We'll see you guys next week. You guys take care.